I started as an aid worker. Actually, I was working for NGOs, and I spent many years in the field moving between war zones and disaster areas. And later on in my career, I joined the Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs. That's the entity that coordinates action on the ground. And from there, I moved to UNHCR 6 years ago. I mean, honestly, it started by coincidence. I wanted to do something else and it didn't happen. Then a group of friends actually asked me to apply for a Danish organization in Egypt. I was based in Egypt at that time. I'm Egyptian originally. And I applied, they accepted me, and it all started from there. And then I realized that this is what I am really created to do. That's the field I love. And I never tried to do anything else. I started working in the development sector in '95, and from there I moved to international aid and relief, and until now. It's really something that requires passion, and it's something that is also very emotionally rewarding, despite the dangers and the difficulties and the miseries we see on a daily basis. UNHCR is the United Nations organization that looks after refugees, internally displaced people, and stateless people. And maybe I need to explain the difference between the three groups. Internally displaced people are people who are forced to leave one place inside of their own countries and move to another place because of security concerns, because their life is threatened, because of different humanitarian reasons. If you move outside your country and cross international borders, you become a refugee according to our definition. And stateless people are, imagine that in the 21st century, we have about 10 million people in the world without any nationality. And we call those stateless people because they do not have any nationality. The total number of all those groups, the three groups, is now reaching 90 million people worldwide. Yeah, between refugees, internally displaced, and stateless people. And UNHCR is the organization that is mandated by the international community to look after the three groups. And we were established in 1950. So the organization is almost 72 years old. It was established right after the Second World War. And when we were established, the world thought that we will finish our task in 3 years. But it actually continued because problems started to appear in other places in the world, in Africa and Asia and different parts of the world. And here we are 72 years later. And as I mentioned, we are now dealing with an unprecedented number of forcibly displaced people. And you can imagine that over the last 10 years, the number is increasing. We are not witnessing any decrease in the number of forcibly displaced people. And the large majority of those people are displaced because of armed conflicts, not because of natural disasters. They are not displaced because of earthquakes or floods. I mean, there is a small portion of the number that is displaced because of natural causes, but the large majority are displaced because of armed conflicts. The distribution of this number across the world is also not proportionate. We have a huge percentage in the Middle East. About 40% of this total is actually in the Middle East, but we are now witnessing an increase in Europe because of the Ukrainian crisis. Since February until now, we are talking about more than 10 million people who have been displaced within and outside Ukraine overnight. What I would like to say probably in this context is that nobody is immune to this type of problems. People can be displaced without even thinking of it. I think Ukrainians never imagined that overnight they will have to leave their homes and be refugees in other countries. They are now spread over 5 neighboring countries to Ukraine. And the same happened to Syrians, the same happened to Iraqis in the past, to many nationalities. So nobody is immune to such problems in the world, and we need the support of everybody because this is becoming a global problem, and the numbers are increasing not year by year, day by day. And that requires a very large number of supporters, and we are very grateful for Gamers Without Borders to partner with us on this initiative and this noble cause. And I think it was not for no reason that UNHCR won Nobel twice. We won Nobel in the mid-50s and in the early 80s. And that is because of the sacrifices and the great work our colleagues are doing in the field. Refugees are more vulnerable than the most vulnerable in any community. You know, we organized some studies to kind of measure the vulnerability levels amongst refugees compared to the most vulnerable in the communities where they live. And our statistics say that they are 4 times more vulnerable than the weakest people in any community. They need food, they need shelter, they need education, they need health. As I speak to you now, I actually, just before this interview, I received a study from our office in Jordan saying that 90%, and this is a very huge percentage, 90% of all Syrian refugees are cutting on their meals because they do not have enough to eat or support their children. And that's where the money goes. We support refugees financially to buy medicine, to send their kids to school, to put a roof over their heads. And this money that can come from Gamers Without Borders will make a huge, huge difference in the lives of thousands of people worldwide. If you speak about education, and I think this is an important issue for the gamers constituency, the refugees are not going to school because their parents cannot afford sending them to school, because their parents need them to work in order to support small children and the elderly, put food on the table. There is only 3% of all refugees worldwide who make it to higher education. And 3% of all refugees. It used to be actually 1% less than 5 years ago. And because of partnerships like the one we are talking about now, the percentage increased from 1 to 3%. And we are actually very, very happy with that. Any progress, whether big or small, is very, very appreciated. For many reasons. One is that we are all vulnerable, as I said. By helping others, we are actually helping ourselves. UNHCR is a very trustworthy organization that has access to millions of people in need worldwide. We are operating in 132 countries. We have 18,000 staff members who are putting their life on a daily basis in harm's way to assist others. We have 400 offices and we can reach people in need now. So if anybody would like to support the refugee cause, to support people in need, UNHCR can deliver this support in the front lines immediately. And I have to say that we need all the time to brutally prioritize assistance. And this is not an easy task because we do not get the full amount that we need to assist the people we need to assist. So we receive about 50% actually of the needs, which means we either assist 50% of the people or give 50% only of the needs to the total number, and both are not ideal. I cannot count the reasons why people should assist refugees. I think they are, as I said, the most vulnerable who amongst the weakest groups in the community who need assistance, and we are making a difference. So the picture is not doom and gloom. I think one good reason why we should consider assistance through UNHCR is that we are seeing progress. We are seeing some positive transformation and some positive changes in the lives of refugees. And this is heartwarming. We cannot, as I always say in my interviews, we do not have the luxury, we cannot afford the luxury of despair. Because if we give up, millions of people in the world will die because they will lack the assistance. And we count on people like gamers because they have massive outreach. And this is something good that you can give back to the community, you can give back to your fans, you can give back to your constituency, the people who like you and who believe in you worldwide. And you have better outreach than us, actually. You can influence people's hearts and minds maybe more than we do. So we are not only talking about money, we are also talking about influence. We need your support in advocacy. We need your support with messages. We need your support to tell people the story of refugees.